This was dark. Kuma has the best backstory on One Piece. Don't at me. Yo, I'm not gonna lie, I was playing. I don't want the smoke, but I ain't gonna lie, in all seriousness, I definitely think he has the best backstory. But before we dive even deeper, I'm gonna need y'all to hit that like button and I'm gonna need y'all to hit that subscribe button. It supports the channel, keeps the channel going, and plus it keeps me motivated to make more videos. Let's get into this chapter. This entire arc, this flashback, is literally setting up Kuma to being one of the greatest and one of the best characters in One Piece. I'm not gonna lie to you, the way I'm feeling right now, I will fight anybody in the comments, but you know what I'm talking about. I would ride out for this man. That's on everything. I really don't know what hit me more, the fact that Ginny died in Kuma's arms, or the fact that Kuma isn't even Bonnie's biological father. Thank you for 2.2K. We moving. At the end of the last chapter, with the way that it ended, them discovering that Ginny had been kidnapped, I really just thought that, they were gonna spin that block, pick up Ginny. But the craziest part is that 2 years have passed, and within those 2 years, Ginny gets knocked up and she has a baby. I really thought that was gonna be Kuma's baby. With the way Bonnie was moving towards Vegapunk, insisting that she was ready to kill that man, you really would have thought that Kuma and Bonnie were like biological father and daughter. One Piece really got me sitting here with the mannerisms and the body language of an audience member from the Maury Povich show. You know when you just sitting in your seat watching the TV or something, just waiting for that suspenseful moment to see who's the father or not? It's like, you are the father. It's like, yeah, you going crazy, son. But man, yeah, good days. Good days. Ginny makes contact with the Revolutionary Army after 2 years, and of course, it was stated that she had caught the eye of a celestial dragon. I'm really curious about who this celestial dragon is, because for some reason, I low-key kind of think it's Jay Garcia Saturn. Hear me out. Bonnie and Saturn already seem somewhat acquainted, and then in addition, Kuma and Saturn already have history from God Valley, so it would make an entertaining full circle of Bonnie's biological deadbeat daddy versus Kuma, who actually became her real dad. That would be fire. I could be wrong though. Ginny contracted sapphire scale, and it turns out that you can't even cure this disease at all, which was also the very reason why she was tossed aside by the celestial dragons. Kuma pulls up immediately, and the saddest part of this chapter was when Ginny dies in his arms. And I think the sadness is even emphasized even more, right? Because during that moment, Kuma actually remembers the time when Ginny actually asked her to marry him. And it's sad because at the time he declined for a very good reason, which was the trauma and the PTSD he suffered from watching what happened to his parents. The saddest part was definitely just watching him cry, knowing that he had a real chance at happiness and that chance slipped away. Not because he didn't care for Ginny, but really because he was protecting her. So at this point, Ginny's gone, and Bonnie's still there, of course, but as a baby, you really start to see the relationship develop between Kuma and Bonnie and why she cares so much about him, especially because at this point, Kuma's a single father, and at this point in time, he's really just doing what any parent would, which is to try and raise a baby with zero experience. So, whether it's knowing how to hold the baby, knowing how to put the baby to sleep. And you see that he makes I'm not going to say mistakes and whatnot, but clearly there are people around him that do correct him. And in the midst of him feeding Bonnie, he actually has flashbacks of him remembering how Ginny used to eat. And, he starts to tear up. Bonnie calls him daddy for the first time, and he tears up again. And you start to see his life really change because he's trying to be a Revolutionary Army commander on one hand, but also trying to be a father on the other hand. We even see like a slight training sequence between him and Sabo. Well, Sabo is a kid. You really see Kuma be a father in this chapter. He's feeding her, he's bathing her. They're even taking naps right next to each other too. And honestly, it makes you really understand and really connect with Bonnie and Kuma and just the kind of relationship that they actually have. Sapphire Scale catches up to Bonnie, and of course, Kuma barricades the church to make sure that there's no natural sunlight in the church at all. And I think probably the most fatherly thing that Kuma actually does is that when Bonnie's made fun of for her scale, he turns a negative into a positive. So basically, as opposed to looking at the Sapphire Scale as some sort of illness or disease, yes, that's what it is if we're looking at apples to apples, he actually looks at it like a jewel and basically changes Bonnie's way of thinking in terms of how she looks at it. And you can see her emotions are a lot better because of it, because it changes the focus of it being something she was made fun of for it before into something that she can now love. Kuma quits the Revolutionary Army to take care of Bonnie full time, and I think at that point he had to either come to a compromise where he can do one or the other, but he can't do both. Bonnie finds out that she'll be dead by the time she's 10, so she's basically got about 5 years to live. And I really love the relationship between Kuma and Bonnie because his way of looking at things in the sense of always trying to find a positive within whatever situation that he's in and whatnot is now reflected in Bonnie because she has a kid's logic. Well, I mean, she is a kid. She clearly heard everything, but decided to change the situation to make it more positive in the sense that, you know, don't worry, I'll be cured by the time I'm 10 years old. And she's like, right, daddy? And then Kuma just agrees. And, you know, that's honestly just a wholesome relationship. And honestly, it makes me sit there and just think, I can see why Bonnie was so emotional when she found out why Kuma had basically sold his soul to the government. A year passes by and it turns out that the king who was there years ago is planning to basically finish what he started. He's planning to burn everybody in their homes. And with the look in Kuma's eye, I know he's a pacifist and he's all about peace and whatnot, but you can tell that this man about to put somebody down. To wrap things up, I love Kuma and Bonnie's relationship. This chapter is probably one of the darkest chapters in One Piece. Kuma is definitely one of the best characters. I don't care. Do not even at me. And honestly, Egghead is definitely off to a phenomenal start of the final saga. I'm so looking forward to just seeing how Egghead actually wraps up and what happens when Kuma actually faces Jay Garcia Saturn, because honestly, I still think Saturn's gonna die, maybe, but I mean, Kuma is a pacifist, but nah, this chapter was the one. This chapter was really the one, but honestly, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll holler at y'all later, man. Peace.